On today's episode, we're going to be showing you guys how to make good selections on your different models and parts of the models. So, selecting is kind of one of those things that you don't really think too much of in SketchUp because there really isn't a cool little unique icon or a tool that you actually have to use in order to select stuff. But it's pretty much been staring us right in the face the entire time. So we're going to get in and we're going to show you guys how to click to be able to select certain things, orientate around, how to add to selections, how to remove parts of your selection. This is going to be a very important step because some of the tools that we're going to get into here in following episodes is going to need you to be able to make good selections. So let's go ahead and start by looking at our little model here that I just kind of threw together. I'm going to zoom in real quick like so, just so you can see the top of this particular cube. I drew a circle on it. What if I want to come in here and I want to select this object so that way I can push or pull it up or change the number of sides, so on and so forth. There's lots of different reasons why we would want to select something. So first thing to keep in mind is the number of clicks that I make using my left mouse button is going to determine what is selected on the object. So watch this. If I click once on the surface of the circle, you'll notice that it selects just the surface. Okay, and that's going to work for anything. So if I click over here on the surface, it just selects the surface. Okay, one click. If I come in here and I double click on the surface of the circle, you'll notice that it not only selects the surface, but it also selects all of the bounding edges, meaning all of the line segments here making up that circle. So real quick, one click selects just the surface, two clicks selects the surface and the bounding edges. Okay, so that's very important. Lastly, if we do 3 clicks or a triple click, it'll select the surface, the edges, and any other objects that are connected to the surface that I am currently selecting. So watch this. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Now I'm able to actually come in and I ended up selecting this entire cube by just triple clicking on that surface. So one click selects the surface, two clicks selects the surface and the bounding edges, 3 clicks in rapid succession selects everything that that object is touching or is a part of. Okay, so that's one way to select objects very specifically. Okay, another way that we could select different objects, obviously depending on the application here, is to create what's called a bounding box. And there's 2 ways that we can do that. First, if I click and hold my left mouse button and now I start dragging my mouse cursor across the screen from left to right, you'll notice that I'm creating a solid line bounding box. Okay, meaning that the rectangle that I'm drawing here has solid lines, and we have to understand that anything that is completely inside that box is going to be selected. So watch this. I'm only going to select half of this box. The items that are completely in the box will be selected. Items that are not completely in the box will not be selected. I only selected these 2 edges, and that's because the other parts of my object were not completely in that box. So for instance, this edge right here, not completely in the box, but this circle now is. So when I let go of my mouse button, it'll select these lines and the circle and the surface of that circle because they were in the box. Okay, now I can also end up rotating around because I need to understand that just because I don't see it on my screen doesn't mean it was not selected. So keep in mind that any object that is completely in the center or in that box will be selected, even the things you might not be aware of. Okay, very important to understand. So again, real quick, click and hold my left mouse button, drag my mouse out, let go. Anything in that solid line box will be selected. Okay. Now the second way to actually select an object is very similar to our last way. So instead of going clicking and holding and dragging from left to the right side of the screen, I am now going to click and hold my left button, mouse button and drag my mouse from the right to the left side of the screen. Notice the difference in the box and how it's drawn. Instead of a solid line, it is now a dashed line. Okay, that's giving you an indication of what kind of bounding box you are creating from going from right to left instead of left to right. This bounding box will select any object that is inside the box but is also touching the box. So in this case, again, real quick review, if I go left to right, solid box, everything has to be on the inside of the box in order for it to be selected. If I go from right to left, anything that's inside or touching the box will be selected. Okay, very, very important to know the distinction between a right to left bounding box or a left to right bounding box. So if you ever find yourself selecting something going left to right and you're getting frustrated because it's not getting selected, maybe try going from right to left instead. Okay, so that's the primary way that we want to make our selections in SketchUp. So let's pretend I want to push-pull this object out here and go across to here. So I would probably end up double-clicking on it to select it. Then I can come over here to my push-pull tool, click on it, and it's already been pre-selected, which is really nice. And now I can push that over. Now on the push-pull tool itself, it does have a mechanism, like all the tools, to be able to select something, or in this case a surface, to be able to utilize. But sometimes there's a good chance that we want to actually be very specific about what we select prior to actually utilizing it. So again, I'll come over here to my select tool. An example of that is, what if I want to move multiple objects at the same time? Okay, I could obviously double click on this, but then when I come over here to double click on that, it deselects my original selection. Well, how can I add to that selection without necessarily even creating a bounding box? I mean, that was easy enough as it was, right? But I might select some other things that I wouldn't want. So we're going to introduce you guys to some keyboard shortcuts. So I'll select my first object here by double clicking on it. Notice that nothing else was selected. If I hold the Shift key, when I hold the Shift key and I'm in my select tool, you'll notice a plus and a minus that have been now attached to my select tool or my mouse arrow. At this point in time, I can add to my selection, or I can deselect from my selection. So this is the add and subtract when it comes to selecting. Well, what if I only want to add things to my selection? Well, at that point, I'll hit the Control key. The Control key plus a left click on your mouse for a select tool will only add. So I can add things pretty quick and easy, but I will not be able to deselect things. So how do I just deselect things? Well, I would hit Shift and Control at the same time. I'm holding those buttons down. Now I can't add anything, but I can definitely subtract things. So again, Control allows me to add only. Oops, I triple clicked there. Control and Shift only allows me to subtract from my selection. If I hold just Shift, it allows me to add and subtract from my selection. And this obviously also works with bounding boxes. So if I come in here like this, oops, I selected my 4 windows here, but you can see I selected a whole bunch of other things. I can hold Control and Shift and go from right to left, and now I can deselect without adding to my selection. So it's a really quick way to be able to do this without worrying about adding to other things. Okay, so those are the keyboard shortcuts there. And once you start getting into SketchUp more, you'll actually be able to learn how you can really make some specific selections even through objects. But for this lesson, we're not really going to show you that. We just wanted to kind of get you into the selecting multiple things with the 2 different bounding boxes, learning about the different keyboard shortcuts to be able to add and subtract to your selections, and the single, double, and triple clicking. There we go. Since I triple clicked on that and this was over here, everything was selected. This guy, on the other hand, was not hooked up to this, so that's why he was not selected. So that's the select tool. Again, get out there, build some just random stuff in SketchUp. You should be able to do that at this point, and then just start attempting to select specific things and get used to using the keyboard shortcuts and the different bounding boxes. Alright, thanks for watching. We'll catch you guys on the next episode.